One thing you guys asked I talk about after the recent Digital Circus episode was the story of Pomni and Gumigoo. This is something I found a bit surprising, as their story is still a bit vague to me, and I'm pretty sure what's really going on here is that some of you shipped Pomni with Gummigoo for some reason, so let's talk about how that might actually go. My name is Deep in the Box, welcome back to Cartoon Universe, and click that subscribe button for Gummigoo, he deserves it. Now, shipping is weird. I don't really get it, and to me, and others like me, the story of Pomni and Gummigoo has nothing to do with romance, and everything to do with the existential dread of realizing you are a smaller, more simple entity than you once thought. Gummigoo's first episode presented someone that Pomni could relate to, with Gummigoo realizing that he wasn't a real person at all and just a pre-programmed AI meant to think he was like everyone else. Pomni had a similar reality-bending awakening when she found herself trapped in the Digital Circus game, realizing that she was trapped there perhaps forever. After bonding, it was devastating to see Gummigoo burst into fun sprinkles when Kane deleted him, but when he returned in the recent episode as a customer at Spudsy's, Pomni was able to get a sense of closure. This is essentially just not the same Gummigoo, but for some reason, seeing him return made Pomni feel at ease, having the idea that he has lived on in some way and will continue to, even if he does keep forgetting her. This is seen by some people, particularly people like me, as Pomni adjusting to her new reality, just accepting the circus for what it is, and being happy to see Gummigoo recurring in the background. But for the filthy shippers, this is the beginning of a tragic love story between a sad clown girl and a gummy alligator in a boonie hat or a cowboy hat. I feel like no matter which one I call it, someone's gonna claim it's the other. So for all you weirdos out there, this one's for you. I hope Pomni does marry Gummigoo and they live happily ever after. But how would that even develop? Right now, Pomni is realizing that Kane likes to recycle NPCs from one adventure to another. In one adventure, an NPC like Gummigoo can be useful as a villain close to the main story. In others, he can be just a regular gummy bear alligator trying to enjoy a Happy Meal. His base personality can be the same, with Kane just giving him different objectives based on what's going on in the adventure that day, and of course, wiping his memory every time. This doesn't mean Pomni has to stop connecting with him, and in fact, Pomni noticed in the recent episode that the other circus cast members were connecting with NPCs that they liked too. A particular favorite appears to be Orbsy the Orb Guy, who was teased pretty early on in the show's production as a favorite character. After the recent episode, we now realize that this meant a favorite character of the cast members, such as Ragatha. The circus members even get to learn more about the NPCs as they interact with them in the different levels, with the characters apparently learning a lot about Gloink reproduction and the great love that Gloink mothers have for all of their precious baby Gloinks. And if Ragatha can learn to appreciate Gloink motherhood, I think we can say it's at least possible that Pomni can fall in love with an Australian accent trapped in an alligator. Every time Pomni meets Gummigoo, she may see a different side of him, and even begin to want to go on adventures specifically to meet him, and maybe even meet other characters. Pomni could soon realize that through Kane's level, she could have any friend she wants, people who feel more comforting to her than the real humans she shares the circus lobby with. But with Gummigoo in particular, I think she would just want to instigate more adventures where she can see him without wanting to worry about what the adventure actually is. This could go in so many different directions, but wouldn't you just love for Pomni's suggestion to get into a romantic situation with Gummigoo to lead to some sort of dating game show style adventure set up by Kane? I mean, I'd totally watch that. But the point here is that if Gooseworks is actually trying to explore some sort of relationship between Pomni and Gummigoo, we might see him a lot more going forward. He may not be in the next episode, but maybe Pomni spends that time trying to find Gummigoo in a new level, only for him to not be there. Maybe the next episode after that, she gets her wish and sees him again, but he's such a brutal villain that Pomni just awkwardly tries to talk to him like a normal person, while he's out here trying to get great riches to support his poor old mom. Maybe after that, she runs into a version of him in a very casual way, but from here it could feel hollow because he doesn't know his true identity or his real relationship with her, and so Pomni would begin to guide him. Every time they meet, Pomni would have to reintroduce herself, and she would have to try different ways to make Gummigoo want to at least be her friend. But no matter how good she is at this, I imagine it will always end with Pomni just being really sad. Over time, this would lead to Pomni feeling hollow, with all she ever gets being a fleeting connection before everything has to change again and Gummigoo is reset. This could build up to a point where Pomni needs the comfort of Gummigoo, maybe after Jax in particular has been heinous to her. But even in some neutral, non-threatening role in a random adventure, he simply won't connect with Pomni when she needs him the most. The only way to try to fix this ongoing problem would be to maybe try and sneak him into the digital circus, as we've seen that Gummigoo can cross into the circus lobby and exist there as long as Kane doesn't want to delete him. I like to think there was a time that he'd let the NPCs hang out in the circus lobby, but because he would mix them up with the humans, that would become dangerous, something he says would be really bad. You'd think you could tell an NPC from a human apart, but maybe the humans themselves are NPCs, who knows. The point is that I think Pomni could get Gummigoo hidden in the circus, maybe even in her room for a while. Jax might even be able to help facilitate this, as he always has keys to everything and seems to know what to look out for glitches or exploitable programming. He may have even done this before, and that's why he does it again to help Pomni. This could go on for a while, with Gummigoo and Pomni's relationship being strained because Gummigoo has to constantly live in hiding. And at some point, Kane could just find Gummigoo and blow him up all over again, making Pomni lose all the progress and the touching new memories she made with her friend. And now with this show, the even crazier thing that could happen is Gummigoo actually beginning to remember things on his own. Pomni could discover this after many first encounters with him, where he begins to recognize the pattern of her existence in his life. And eventually, he could form real memories. With how many things go wrong in the digital circus, like Kane having breakdowns and humans abstracting, it would make sense that the NPCs would begin to develop glitches too. The game is probably not meant to be played continuously, with this particular session supposedly running for years on a computer that seemingly isn't being turned off. Perhaps without a proper rest, the files of the NPCs aren't properly resetting, and backed up metadata may make them start to have ongoing relationships of sorts with the other characters, despite the many basic resets from Kane. Now, as wild as this may seem to some people, it's actually a very recurring narrative here that I generally call the time-traveling Jesus narrative, something found in a lot of stories, particularly those from Japan. This is a base plot you can find in a lot of these media where a Jesus-type figure is trapped in some sort of loop, often a time loop, in order to rescue the person that he is in love with. Or in the case of the digital circus, who Pomni is in love with. For Pomni, a lot of fans began seeing her as a parallel to Jesus when we saw her sitting at the dinner table in the first episode, with the image there being similar to the paintings of Jesus at the Last Supper. Like Jesus in that painting, Pomni's jester outfit has a red and blue color scheme, making many fans think that Pomni's fall into the digital circus is just meant to represent the fall of Christ into the underworld to rescue the souls trapped there. In these stories, the Jesus figure often has a romantic love for one particular character in order to represent the love that Jesus has for humanity, with the Jesus figure finding themselves in some sort of loop where they have to try and interact with this person who doesn't remember them but who they truly deeply love. In this case, that is Gummigoo. Pomni herself is not trapped in a time loop here, but Gummigoo is in some sense, as he's playing the same adventures and the same character over and over and forgetting his memories each time. Spoiler alert, but this happens in a lot of different stories such as Magical Girl Madoka, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and even the new Rick and Morty anime. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, Jesus loves you, even if you ship Pomni and Gummigoo. But what do you think? Are you beyond redemption, or do you not even care for this ship? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.